Welcome back, everybody. It is now Friday. Yeah. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you are having a great day. I hope you had a great week. I hope you're ready to come back to school on Monday. I am so excited. I cannot wait for not all of us, but for most of us to be back in school. Oh, I'm so excited. But we got to get through this before we get to all that fun. So, as normal, this is an Ed puzzle. You have to make sure the video finishes all the way through. 0 seconds left on the clock for you to get credit. So keep that in mind. So today we're going to talk about the rise of corporations. Ooh, scary, right? So before the Civil War in the US, businesses were owned, the majority of them were either owned by one person or a small group of people because businesses were pretty small. But then after the Civil War, businesses needed new equipment to grow really big. And if you remember last week, one of the 6 factors that helped industrialization that we talked about was investment capital, where rich people invest in businesses. They give their money to business owners in exchange for like ownership of the company. Well, that's what we're talking about here. Okay. So investors give money to these businesses to help them grow. And in return, they now own part of the business. So then these businesses become what are called corporations. Corporations are just owned by a lot of people. Like one corporation has a lot of different owners. But what happened was these corporations grew too big and they took over the market. And they gave rise to monopolies. Okay. So this is a vocab word. A monopoly is a company that wipes out its competitors and takes control of an entire industry, right? So some of the figures that we'll talk about that created monopolies, two of the most well-known guys that created monopolies are John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie. John D. Rockefeller ran what was called the Standard Oil Company. And basically what it did was he made his prices of oil so low that everybody else went out of business. And then he was the only one left. And then his company then got so big that it could just buy up all these smaller companies and make it all under his company. But then here's the problem. And Carnegie did the same thing with steel. But here's the problem. If you've got one company and they make their prices low in the beginning, they wipe out all their competitors, then once they're the only ones in the industry, they can make their prices higher and nobody can compete with them, right? Because there's nobody left. So in reality, that's going to make the prices of oil and steel go through the roof because Rockefeller, let's say he's the only one that can provide oil. People need oil, so they have to buy it from him. He knows they have to buy it from him. So he's going to make his prices crazy high so that people, they're going to have to sell, they're going to have to buy it, and he's going to make a lot more money. So monopolies are very, very dangerous. And now we have laws that prevent the creation of monopolies, and that, like Rockefeller and Carnegie and a few others, are prime examples of why those laws got into effect, called trust busting. Trust. These companies were also called trusts, right? And then once the corporations eliminate the competition, they jack up the price like we just talked about, okay? And that's going to lead to the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. So, these corporations, they helped a lot of people become fabulously wealthy. Like Rockefeller and Carnegie, they started out kind of poor and then got rich. So a lot of other people thought, hey, that could happen to me too, right? Well, not really, because the majority of the people that got really rich, they just got richer, right? Wealthier. They were already kind of wealthy. They just got more money. Majority of them weren't starting out poor. But this was not the norm, like becoming rich was not the norm all of a sudden. The vast majority of families in the US, I read a figure the other day that said at this time, 11 million out of the 12 million families in the US were still living at or below the poverty line. And the poverty line at this point in the late 1800s, you had to make less than 350 or $360 a year. Okay, that's not a lot of money. Even back then, that was not a lot of money. So the vast majority of people here in the US still very, 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 very poor. Okay. But this era, this late 1800s era in the US was called the Gilded Age because, you know, to gild something means to take it and coat it with gold, right? So if I gilded my phone, I would like give it a gold coating, which makes it look good. But let's say I take like a rotten apple and gild it, right? On the outside, it looks good. On the inside, not so much. And that's why we call this period the Gilded Age, because on the outside, you're looking at all these rich guys living large in their mansions. You guys are familiar with the Biltmore House owned by the Vanderbilt family? The Vanderbilt family were among the Rockefellers and Carnegies of the world, right? They got rich and they built that house. So people see the Biltmore House and they're like, whoa, the US is awesome. Not really. Not really. We kind of had a little rotten apple thing going on. And then, as we've discussed previously, I just want to touch on it just again. The majority of industry was located in the North, right? Because we know that the Southern society, not only did they have to rebuild after the Civil War, then they had to improve, right? And then the Northern economy wasn't destroyed during the Civil War. There was no fighting in the North. They already had factories. They just built more. Whereas in the South, cities were flattened. They had to rebuild and then kind of play catch up. So the majority of industry was located in the North. And that's it for today. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Cannot wait to see the vast majority of you back at school on Monday. I am super, super excited. So that's it for me. Remember, you've got to answer the questions if you haven't already done so, and wait till the video finishes completely before you X out. Remember, 0 seconds left. That means you're done. All right? Have a great weekend, guys.